Hey everybody, Jim Dobson, and we're going to do story time. I think you're going to really like this. And what story time is it begins kind of like my life story, and it begins that my story is this. I've always wanted to be a stand-up comedian. However, at some point in time, I just wound up lifting heavy things and pounding nails to support my family. But I've always wanted to be a stand-up comedian, and I've had jokes that I've written. Some of them I can't even remember, but I look at life through googly eyes. So even if you say something serious, sometimes I see the humor in it. And so I don't know why I'm like that, but I like being like that because I think it's funny. But anyways, my story begins several years ago. I went on a cruise ship, and I was able to kind of be that stand-up comedian for a day. While I was on this cruise ship, this is Norwegian Dawn. It's out of Boston, and I highly recommend it. It's like $600 for a 7-day cruise, and it's almost all inclusive. I think I ate $800 worth of food, but at least those rolls, those crusty rolls, I ate probably $400 worth of those. But anyways, the cruise goes down to Bermuda and back, and it's nice to take at the end of the year, around September. It helps to extend your summer, and that's exactly what I did. And I was on this cruise ship, and about halfway through the cruise, they had a talent show announcement, because you get stuff every morning at your door about what's going on. And it said, oh, talent show. So I wake up and I'm thinking, funny guy. I think, hey, I'm out in the middle of the ocean. Nobody's going to know. A great time to even try to see if I am funny or I'm not funny. I don't know. And so I said to my girlfriend at the time, I said, hey, I want to do this talent show. What do you think? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, go for it. So I got convinced. So I go back to my cabin and I sit there and I write some jokes. I rewrote these jokes I already had on paper, and I memorized them so that I could get on stage and I could deliver this perfectly in 3 or 4 minutes. They allowed you time, 2 or 3 or 4 minutes, because there was several other people doing stuff. No comedians, but there were several other talents. And so it comes time for me to get on stage, and I'm real nervous. And so I go up there, and I get on stage, and I'm going to do that routine for you. I'm going to also do a couple of other things, because that cruise also created a couple of funny situations and funny jokes that arised out of it. So I'm going to do that routine, and then I'm going to do a couple of other things after that I've written since then. And I continue to write all the time and come up with things that I think would do well in a stand-up routine situation. But anyways, so it began on that cruise ship, and here is the routine. I come out, the audience clapping, and I says, hi, how you doing? I says, I'm trying to stay in shape. I used to go to the gym, but and as a matter of fact, I used to take aerobics classes, and I'm going to be putting graphics up here too, so pay attention. I used to do aerobics classes, but I got kicked out of the aerobics class because I burnt somebody with my cigarette. And so they kicked me out of the aerobics class. That's not why they kicked me out of the gym, but they wouldn't let me do aerobics anymore. The reason why they kicked me out of the gym is very simple. I was at the gym one day, and I was spotting the gym manager, and my ash fell off my cigarette right into his face, and that was it. That's the last time he got up. He didn't want me in that gym anymore. That was the last time I went to the gym. And so no more gym for me. I have to physically work to stay in shape. And so I'm also divorced. I got divorced several years ago, and it's all right. No big deal. We get along great. I see my kids all the time. She started a cleaning business. She's doing great. I guess she got the idea after she cleaned me out. But we get along great. But anyways, I don't know if you've ever been up to Maine, and been up to the Maine Turnpike. But when you get up there, if you drive up to Maine, you go through New Hampshire up to Maine, you're going to hit this bad boy, okay? Somewhere's in the York area. This is a toll booth in Maine, and I hope the governor's listening, because I got something to say. I hope you pay attention to what I'm saying, Mr. Governor. But if you go up to Maine, you hit this toll booth, and you go through this toll booth, you pay a toll. Then you go a little further, you pay more, and the further you go, the more you pay. I think it's totally ridiculous. I do not think that system should be like that at all. In fact, the way I think the system should be is like this. For example, if you go up to Maine, you get off in like York. Okay, they could even move that toll booth back, right? So if you get off in York, York is not a bad area. It's probably worth 75 cents. You get off in York. If you go a little bit further, Kennebunkport, beautiful little town. You know, that's worth $1. You know what I mean? It's worth a little bit more money than York. It's a little nicer, you know. And you go a little further, you got Ogunquit. That might be worth $1. You know, and depending on the town, that's how much you pay. How nice the town is, how nice the stop is. But you know, honestly, when you get up, you keep going. You drive long enough, you're going to hit this town. This is going to hit this exit right here. It's Lewiston, Auburn. If you get off in that exit, they should be paying us. Because I don't know if you've ever been up there, but this is a good graphic to show you pretty much what that town looks like. So Mr. Governor, pay attention, change that system. Anyways, that was my routine on the ship, to a T. I mean, I didn't fluctuate from that routine. That routine I did 8 years ago. And thought that I won. Thought for sure I won. I mean, there was no other talent there, and I wasn't being biased. Well, I didn't think there was any other talent there. But for some reason, the audience thought differently. This guy won. First place. I took second. He plays harmonica with his nose. Come on now. That's the biggest joke in the whole cruise ship. Plays a harmonica with his nose? Google it. There's 100 people in the world that can do it. So this is the guy that won up to me and ended my comedy career. Okay? Just want to show you that guy, and don't, you know, I'll never forget that. I really was disappointed. So anyways, I'm on that cruise ship. Finished up the cruise, and I don't know if you know how these cruises work, but when you leave port, they have a casino that you can go in and play a little poker, you know. And so that's where I was most of the time when we were at sea, because there was nothing else to do, and other than play bingo, which I'm not a bingo player. So we're at sea, so I'm playing my poker while we're at sea, and did a little bit of that. Come back, we get back to shore. And back to port in Boston here, and just before I depart the ship, I decided to go down to. I said to my girlfriend, "Listen, hang on, I got to go to Lost and Found." And so I go to Lost and Found, and I walk up. The lady says, "Hey, how can I help you?" And I said, "I mean, and this is a true story." I walked up to her and I said, "Yeah." I said, "I lost $800 in the casino." She looks at me and she just laughs. She didn't try to help me. She didn't do anything. So just be aware of that when you go on that cruise. Although I highly recommend the cruise. That Lost and Found is just there for show, because they didn't try to help me one bit with that $800 I lost. And so then I got off the ship. Now, a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, I was at a comedy show up in Portsmouth. Lenny Clark was the headliner, and because I love comedy, whether I'm doing it or I'm watching it, I love comedy. So I go up to see Lenny Clark. It was a charity event for canines for cops or whatever, and so all the money went to charity. Lenny Clark, I don't think got paid to do it at all. But I'm up there on a date with this girl, first date, and I, you know, take her to this show, and we're sitting there waiting for the show to start. And they showed the dogs. The dogs come on stage and all that. And there's a lot of police at the event, and I'm sitting there waiting for the show to start. And this lady comes over with a basket and a bunch of raffle tickets, and she says, "Oh, you want to buy a raffle ticket?" And I'm like, "Sure. What's the prizes? What are you giving away?" And she says, "Well, first prize is like a trip to go see Lenny in Las Vegas or something like that, whatever it was." And I was like, "Oh, that sounds good." And then it was like $5 a ticket, whatever it was. So then she says, I said, "Well, what's the other prize?" And she says, "Oh, it's a free ride along." I looked at her, I said, "Whoa, I don't need that free ride along. I did that like a couple times when I was 18. I do not need the free ride along. You can give that to somebody else." And that girl never went out with me again. I'm not sure why, but it's probably a good thing, because I got a really sweet girl now. And but anyways, my last story that I want to tell you, it started off as a conversation. I think I was in the supermarket, and this person I was grabbing lettuce. When I grew up, we used to eat iceberg lettuce. And I can't remember if we were at the supermarket, we were in the car, whatever. We were having this conversation. And I said, yeah, I'm gonna get some. Oh, pick up some iceberg lettuce, whatever. And this person's like, oh, iceberg lettuce, that's bad lettuce. And I'm like, well, first thing comes to my mind is, what do you mean bad lettuce? Like I don't know much about what's healthy and what's not. I don't study that stuff, you know. But the picture that came to my mind, I said, what do you mean bad lettuce? I says, all I can envision is you, because she told me that the romaine was the good lettuce. I said, all I could envision was the mama romaine telling the baby romaine, don't hang around with the iceberg. And I could picture the iceberg having a leather coat. That's all I could picture in my head. I couldn't fathom, why would you call it bad lettuce? Bad, is he a bad? Oh, I'm bad lettuce, you know? Oh, yeah, I'm bad. You know? I don't get it. But anyways, that's my lettuce story, and that's the best I've ever told it. I hope you like it. And I got a lot more where this came from. You just saw the tip of the iceberg.